Alright, do you see a difference between this and this? I don't. I'm just saying. Yo, what's up, guys? Just saying, first off, you're like, hey, Dave, you aren't in your room? Yeah, I'm at my mom's house for the holidays. Might be doing some more videos here in the long run. I'll be back at my place only for school to finish out the last chunk. But yo, let's get right into episode 9. Episode 9 is titled Attack of the Ogres. So we finally get introduced to the group of monsters I believe that might be my favorite, being the Ogres. They look cool, they got a cool design, and I've seen what they look like in the intro. So the thing is about the Ogres, I want to say first off, I did think they were orcs. Thank you everybody in the comment section that corrected that for me. I did mix them up, but the Ogres look pretty cool. They were kind of raw in this episode. And overall in this episode, I'm pretty happy with how it went, even though I do want more. I have things I liked about the episode and things that I honestly didn't like, which is rare because I usually talk about only the positive on these episodes. So just starting off with it, what I honestly wanted from this episode is I wanted a little bit more. The thing is, this episode goes over Rimuru in human form, which I acknowledge is important, and it introduced the orcs, or ogres, I'm sorry, it introduced the ogres, which is really important. We need to figure out who they are, what they're about, what's their problem, how Rimuru can actually help them, things of that nature. That's important. I see why it's important to do. But honestly, after episode 8, where Rimuru finally got a goal to find the Demon Lord, he needs to find out more information and figure out what's happening in the world, and he'll have to talk with humans. I really was looking for Rimuru to find a reason to leave the village. From this episode, we're still at the village, we're just getting more allies, which isn't bad. We're getting accustomed to our human form, which also isn't bad because that was pretty cool. But I think I'm kind of ready to see what it'd be like for Rimuru to go out into the world with his allies, or with his faction, you know what I mean? Like, I think one of my favorite episodes, not action-wise, but one of the episodes I like the most is when Rimuru went to Dwargo. Because when he went to Dwargo, he had to deal with King Dwargo, or Dwarven, whatever the village name is called, the city. When he had to go there, he had to deal with the humans' rules, he had to go in the court system, the king was about to, like, you know, he wasn't going to sentence them to death, but you saw, like, all his knights pulled out their weapons, and the king was like, okay, hold. Like, I want to see that conflict between Rimuru being a monster, having his own monster village, which is pretty powerful, him being powerful himself, and dealing with the humans that'll be afraid of him. Because remember, King Dwargo actually sent out, or King Gazelle, whatever his name is, he actually sent out, I'll call them an assassin, to watch Rimuru or keep an eye on him, because he thinks that he's a threat, just like Veldora. But that's a whole nother conversation. I think I'm just kind of ready to see where Rimuru goes. But let's deal with this episode right now and talk about it a bit. So to give a quick synopsis of everything that happened in this episode, in the beginning, of course, they need to rebuild the village because Ifrit basically destroyed most of it and most of their work. Good thing no one really died beyond Shizu, but that kind of got happened because, you know, she got absorbed and she was dying anyway. But back on the point. So the village got restored. Rimuru is keeping a keepsake of Shizu, and one thing that was cool about this episode is Rimuru finally starts playing with his human form. We found out that Rimuru can actually use every skill that Ifrit had. Body doubles, the fire, everything. The Great Sage let us know to say, hey, you can use the skills. This also goes the same for Shizu, by the fact that when he went to where Veldora was originally stored to test out his skills in Silent, Shizu had an ability called Degenerate, whatever the name of it is. But what's crazy about this skill, I hope I'm not the only one that called it, I'm pretty sure you did too, the fact that Degenerate is the unification and separation, uses unification and separation to merge skills together. So let's think about this. Rimuru can absorb things and learn skills. He already in himself can learn some skills and put it together. Now with Shizu's skills that he can use unification, combining skills, and separation to make new skills, you know how crazy overpowered that is? Like, he used Black Flame today. He already knew Black Lightning without the skill. So what else could he do? I mean, Black Ice? I don't know. But the thing is, like, that opens up a whole new window of learning skills, fusing skills within himself, now being able to unify and fuse skills or separate them using Shizu's ability. So our character is kind of overpowered. I mean, he was already OP, but this is like a whole nother level on top of what else or whatever else he learns on his way. So that's kind of crazy, just a little bit crazy, man. And they kind of show how overpowered it is in this episode. Now, after dealing with his feelings for Shizu, saying like, you know, she left his power for me, and testing it out himself and rebuilding the village, we get an emergency call from Ragna, and Ragna's like, oh snap, we're in trouble. Rimuru actually goes and shows up. We see Gopta getting slashed. I was like, yo, this is actually finally getting real. But the Ogres were not playing. Now, what was cool about the Ogres is they're actually pretty kind people, if you can't tell, and they're honorable by the fact that they didn't kill a single one of the enemies, like kill a single one of Rimuru's companions. They thought those monsters were under control of Rimuru and that Rimuru was a Majin. The girl with the pink hair, the ogre with the pink hair, she put them all to sleep. We saw that the old man ogre, as raw as he is, y'all know he's kind of nice, honestly. Just by the amount of information he knew when he identified Rimuru's moves, how quick he moved under Rimuru's magic sense, and how swiftly he slashed Gopta. He could have killed Gopta easily if he wanted to, and honestly, I believe all of them could have killed all the monsters there. It would have been a fight, but you saw they were getting outclassed. But the thing is, you can tell they're still kind-hearted ogres. Kind-hearted ogres, for that matter. All in all, they thought Rimuru was some type of great Majin that was evil and tormented the village by sending orcs to them to destroy their village, right? And my assumption from this is that these guys are the last survivors of this village, right? There's a couple reasons I believe that these guys are the only ones left. One of these reasons is that the redhead ogre is actually like, I am going to be the next village chief, or I'm going to be the next prince, or whatever he used. I believe he said leader. He said he would be the next village leader, meaning that he's next in line, right? So what does this suggest? This suggests that whoever was the previous leader, I'm gonna guess either his father or his brother are dead. Or maybe it was both of them are dead. These are the last ones alive, and now you gotta step up to leadership as you flee from your village because it's completely and utterly destroyed. We also have the old man ogre, who I believe is some type of strategist. Like, he's a raw fighter and extremely smart, but I feel like he's some type of like servant or strategist or butler to them. I feel like butler doesn't fit, but he serves them somehow, like a vassal in a sense, you know? We have the pink-haired ogre, which is a sister, and I assume she's a princess. You know, she lost most likely her father and mother in this also. So there's her. I don't know who the purple-haired girl ogre is. I'm assuming another servant, maybe like one of their best fighters, female fighters for that matter. And the other two, I gotta be real, I don't think they're that important from what I'm seeing. They just kind of seem like extra ogres down here for protection and fight. They really weren't highlighted heavily in the intro, except the blue-haired one. The blue-haired one was, but the big guy really wasn't. But I don't really know. I think they're just more servants. But back to the point, they all think that Rimuru is extremely evil, and they need to free these monsters and be about their way and get vengeance for the village. But through a series of events, logically they realized to be like, hey, Rimuru is actually pretty powerful. Why would he send lowly orcs to go destroy our village when he literally is using like black flame right now and could destroy us easily? They even acknowledged the battle to be like, we're not powerful enough to fight you. Rimuru was trying to scare them away and say, okay, maybe they'll surrender. But what I like about the ogres is that they're extremely prideful. Like, the guy was like, okay, run and take the princess and you all can go. He was like, no, I'm the next leader. I'm gonna go down fighting. You know, if we die, we kind of die. So what I like about them is that they reminded me of characters like samurais, you know, like that traditional Japanese samurai with magic. The only thing I can compare it to, which I alluded to in the intro, is that it reminded me of Onimusha a bit. You know, I mean, Onimusha did have like demons and, you know, swords and absorbing souls and magic. That's what I think of. So one thing I found really interesting about them is that Rimuru pointed out they use armors and swords. So these guys, for one, which they're going to get named next episode, at the end of the episode they were like, we don't have names. Rimuru is obviously going to give them a name to power them up when they become friends, right? But the very interesting thing I found out about them is that Rimuru highlighted they had armor and swords, right? Now, for monsters, let's think about monsters in this world, right? When we saw the goblins initially, when we saw the wolves initially, not saying they couldn't wield swords or extra abilities, but they were nameless monsters. They really weren't tough. They were just basic monsters. So these guys are basic ogres, right? Basic ogres. But these guys use swords, they use magic, they use armor. So I'm wondering, like, are these special ogres that are nameless, or do all ogres in this world just, you know, kind of have abilities? I think most ogres wouldn't use weapons, or at least wouldn't use like magic, armor. They wouldn't think of doing that. I think they would just be kind of ogres, kind of tough. They're logical, but these guys, you know, they're equipped out. Maybe they had their own village and they were just that advanced. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't know. For nameless monsters, they impressed me how skilled they were, how smart they were on knowledge, and honestly how prepared they were to fight. So that's pretty cool. Like, I think that the Orc Destroyer from the last episode, he was named, meaning that he gets a power boost or a power buff. So I'm wondering, like, okay, like, these guys are kind of special. They're special ogres that are going to join the force. I don't think most will be like that. Let me know what you think, but that's something that I kind of picked up on to say, okay, this is kind of cool. Now, how I felt about the episode overall, I still feel like I want more. I want Rimuru to be out in the world. I want him to be going and going, you know what I mean, and interacting with humans. But I acknowledge the importance of this episode by the fact that we need to see Rimuru get used to his human form. Think about it, this episode, you know, I mean, he's fought in the past in the slime form using the sticky web and stuff. In this episode, he used the body armor, meaning like he used his arm in the human form to transform it. He used the paralyzing spell from his hand. He used sticky web, I forgot how, but I assume that was from his hand too. But we're gonna get accustomed to Rimuru being able to fight in this form, and this episode is one of the first that kind of shows it, you know? And getting used to it, you know, like, can he make it masculine? Can you make a feminine version? What can we and can't we do? How fluid? I see Rimuru fighting as a human more than the slime because it just seems more fluid. It seems to go a little bit better in my opinion. Now, of course, he has to be a slime for Predator, which is pretty cool, but, you know, otherwise, he's that. Another thing is, we saw Rimuru finally get a little bit more damage, meaning he cut off the human arm, and Rimuru was like, I kinda didn't feel it. I'll just put my arm back on, Ultra Regeneration, and I'm fine. So I acknowledge this episode is really important. To highlight that it's really important to develop or bring the next plot point, being the ogres in place. And probably the next 1-2 episodes we're going to be dealing with their situation and getting them on. So, I mean, that was cool. I still, you know what I mean, like, even though I really like the ogres, this wasn't really one of my favorite episodes, but I acknowledge why it's a good episode and why it did have to happen. Please let me know your thoughts. Like, maybe I'm impatient and I'm just like, look, I'm ready to see where the real plot is. Where's the Demon Lord? How are we going to deal with the human factions that won't like us? Like, I'm really ready to see that. Let me know what you think on that, because I'm genuinely curious. Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? And yeah, I mean, that's basically the review. Do let me know how you feel, if you enjoyed it, any preference. And yo, thank you very much for tuning in to another DataDave review in the database. Of that time, I got Reincarnated As A Slime. Episode 9. But yo, see you later. We'll love to hear your thoughts. And yo, thank you very much for watching. See you later, guys.
Crib, champagne in the fridge, backyard with the pool on my lid. Where you at? Where you been? Where you at? Where you been? Let me live, let me live, let me live, let me live.